Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Glenn and Adrian's Rock Talk. How you doing, Adrian?
Doing all right. How are you? How are you all out there?
Well, I like your Steve Hackett shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Say,
I like it too. Yeah, I picked it up at a show, actually.
was that the same? Was that the Egg Show?
Yeah, that was the Egg Show.
I'm planning on sharing some of those photos. I think just in the little tiny areas underneath the video.
Okay.
I may put up a few things from that event, and we can talk about that a little bit as we get in there.
Oh,
But
sure.
first to Genesis. So the cool thing about Genesis for the two of us, it feels like, is we both kind of found the band at the same time, and we were still basically in our teens at the time. And so I know that I started hearing Genesis in about 1982. I know I heard Misunderstanding, and I heard Abacab, and Follow You, Follow Me. And I thought, well, that's, yeah.
Sorry. Turn It On Again was the first song I ever heard. I heard it on the radio. I remember I heard it in 1981.
Oh, yeah, really? Okay.
Summer of 1981 when I first heard that song.
Seems about right. So I remember my progression with Genesis was I started my own personal journey. I think might have been separate from you. I can't really remember.
Probably
Abacab.
I discovered all these albums that I was ignoring for a while because
Yeah.
I didn't know who was on the other albums. I just knew the three people.
I was hanging out for a while on
Time.
the Genesis out the Abacab album, and
Yeah, I got that album pretty quickly actually.
Yeah.
I got it before Duke.
And Three Sides Live also was, I think, 82. Yeah.
Yep.
So these were contemporary releases, and so they're a little bit scratchy now, but they're okay. That was just about the time I was starting to learn how to take care of albums, But what happened was at some point, and that was it for a while. Oh, and then this Genesis album came out, just the self-titled, eponymous, kind of the very first big pop album that they had, Genesis. Yeah, and we'll get more into that too. I'm just kind of giving an overview first, I seem to recall we both played this one a lot. But then a couple of years went by, I think. And then finally, or maybe at the time, I picked up Wind and Wuthering, which was this album. And this was back when you go to the record store and you have a pile of albums in there by a band that you like, and they've made a ton of records, but there aren't a whole lot of references out there available. You can't listen to the album ahead of time. And it's not on the radio because, it's from 76, which is several years earlier, at this point.
And way before the internet. You don't have the internet.
There's no internet. Yeah. I mean, you're lucky if you can find somebody with the album, and that didn't happen. So this was a blind purchase. And it had Steve Hackett on it, of course, still. Peter Gabriel is gone by this point. And again, I'm just overviewing right now. We're going to go through this a little bit more in depth as we go along. But I thought this was a pretty cool record. Just sight unseen, sounded a lot different than these others. Said, gee, what happened? Apparently this band's done a lot of interesting things. But so that was it for a little while. And then what happened was I went over to visit a friend for a year in Europe. And I discovered when I got to Europe, this is 1984, that you can actually go walk into a record store, pull a record out and say, hi, I want to play this. Could you put it on the turntable? And they're like, oh, sure. Here are the headphones. And you can sit there and play the whole side if you like. So this is where I took the advantage of trying to hear some of these records that had really interesting looking covers, but that I hadn't actually heard. So then I got a chance to do that. And then from there, it was basically an avalanche, and I brought it all back and I shared it with you. You may have already.
I remember 1985, I think was the first, or it might have been earlier than that, but the first time I remember hearing Foxtrot was 1985.
Yeah, sure. Well, I can tell you that I came home in late 84, and I knew then that I needed to buy more Genesis, so so that's how that went. So yeah, that would make sense. So anyway, that's kind of our preamble. We've loved the band ever since. We love progressive rock. you know. But we went and started at the very beginning. And the way it went with this band was they all went to this school called, I think called the Charter School. Let me just quick look up the exact name of it. But there are pictures of, the Charter House.
School.
It's the Charter House in Godalming, Surrey. Anyway, this place literally looks like a castle. I went and took a picture, or I saw a picture online, and actually I'll share that too at the bottom right here, right now. And just craziness. They definitely were not wanting for money, or they had time on their hands. They had their studies, but it included Peter Gabriel, who is now an artist in his own right. I'm not sure how many people know that he started with Genesis right at the beginning. He was the lead singer. And then, of course,
I try to tell people that. I never get an answer.
Oh, you've told
I
people?
never get a response when I tell people that. And, oh, yeah, back in the time when Peter Gabriel sang. And they're like, who?
Yeah, so it was Banks and Rutherford, keyboards and bass and 12 string and things like that. And then Anthony Phillips, who was another guitar player. We talked a little bit about him in our unofficial episode 0, where we were just testing our gear.
I was watching something about him today, and apparently he was very musical. He contributed a lot of the material. I guess wrote a lot of the material.
Yeah,
a lot of the material was written by the other guys too. But
yeah, it feels like early on.
Yeah, he was a pretty major person in the band.
And he was there for the first 2 albums.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, what happened was they caught the attention of a guy named Jonathan King, who had some hit. It might have even been a novelty hit, and he had also gone to the Charter House, so he's an alumni of the Castle School, and so he's the hero of everybody there. And so they reach out to him and say, hey, do you think you can get our music shopped around? And he liked the music enough that he paid for, I think, 40 pounds worth of demo, which was 4 songs. And 3 of them actually ended up on the first record, maybe not in that form. They tried putting a couple of singles out. A Winter's Tale was one of them. I don't remember what the other
Silent Sun was one of them, I think. There was
one?
like a major one of theirs somehow. Maybe it was their first one. I don't know.
Which? Oh, the Silent Sun.
Silent Sun.
Yeah. Okay. And then they also tried Where the Sour Turns to Sweet. That's right. And all those I think ended up on the record here. So what happened was those didn't really do anything, but he decided that he wanted to sign the band. And so he said, you guys are great. I want to sign you to a 5-year deal where I'm your manager, and I'll take care of everything. We'll make a bunch of money. You'll have fun. It'll be great. And now they're all in their mid-teens, so they're not legally bound by contracts, and their parents step in and go, I don't think so. I think we're going to do 1 year with an option for a 2nd year. And then he reluctantly said, okay, we'll do that. So they recorded this album while they were on holiday in August of 1968. And really, this is more of a songwriters collective at this point. They're not really a progressive rock band. These are all cheery pop songs with little interesting things going on in them.
Really, I call it practice for trespass.
Yeah, it's practice for trespass. That's a good way to put it. I mean, they had some nice melodies on there and everything, but they were a little green, So, and I think
I like some of the early songs. There are some that might not be on the album, actually. There's one called Build Me a Mountain that I like for some reason.
Oh, yeah. That, I believe, was
got that riff in the middle of it.
Wait.
That.
Is that what you?
That's the Serpent.
That's the Serpent, yeah. Because that's what I was going to talk about. It just sounded like you were kind of doing that. But yeah, I think the Serpent is the best song on the album out of everything on here. That was my, I listened to it the other day just to kind of refresh my memory. And that was the one that stuck out because it's just got a whole bunch of different pieces in it that are all catchy. That's just one memorable hook in the song. There's like 3 or 4 of them. So
there's a lot of stuff that appears on like later songs too.
Oh,
there's the middle of Twilight Ale House, for example. I think that's in the introduction to the Serpent.
Oh, you know, you could be right.
That part where it goes dun, 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 dun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, actually, you know, that's a very interesting thing you bring up. This album is full of segues. So it's not they weren't content just to write all these little songs of like 2-3 minutes, you know, a piece, but they also wrote these little 15 to 30-second interludes in between many of the songs, not all of them, but
Yeah.
most of them. So
Yeah.
it's just a continuous patch all the way through. So really, there's like 20 different ideas on here or something, and you know, precocious young lads they were, you know, but this particular record didn't do that well. And it's probably one of the last ones you need to buy if you find yourself a Genesis fan. It's very interesting, but not necessarily one you must have. If you want to sample it, like I say, check out the Serpent.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I wonder if people recognize the songs we're singing.
Probably not. Well, the thing is, what I'm hoping is they're gonna hear what we're talking about and go look it up online, since we can't really play it because, you know, copyright strikes and
Oh yeah,
all
that's
the
right.
silly, you know. I mean, yes, we like royalties and all rights reserved and all that, but this has come out with several different covers, so it may not look like this if you're looking for it. It's also known as not just In the Beginning, but From Genesis to Revelation. It was the other working title on
I
that.
once saw a copy of that album, and for some reason it had Peter Gabriel in the flower costume, which didn't even come into being until Supper's Ready on Foxtrot.
I think I remember that. I remember seeing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
I
Oh,
remember there used to be these places full of CDs where you could buy a CD if you wanted to. They were called record stores, and
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, you know, I went and looked at some records at this place called Newbury Comics, if I can say that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
they just saw this album. I'm like, wow. And I look at the price tag; it's like $25. And it's like, oh, I ain't got $25. You know, I was like a teenager at the time, so I didn't have money. So
Yeah. It's a familiar feeling, you know. Now my problem is I buy the record and then oh no, great. Now where's all my money? It's in my record collection. But so the next thing that came along was Genesis Trespass. And I believe this actually was a gatefold originally.
it
I,
might have been.
yeah, my copy is not. Although I bought this back in the 80s. I probably bought all of these records in 1985 or something, except for the first.
I think there is a gatefold version of that where they have the lyrics inside.
Yeah,
Something like that.
that's kind of my impression. Yeah, maybe I'll.
Yeah, I think I might have seen that at some point. I was watching something about trespass. I don't know, a few days ago, and they. Yeah.
All right, you said you checked out the bonus disc, bonus DVD that came with it, and
Oh yeah, the DVD that came with it, and yeah, because it was in the box set. But the 2007 box set with the interviews and everything, and there's a copy right there. Yeah, and
so this came up.
someday, yeah, I wonder. Actually, is it if it's that far away? I think I had my box set out at some point, but I can't seem to find it. So I'll have to bring it out in another episode or something, I guess.
Well, I can't make it focus, but anyway, this thing came out, and all of the records from the albums from the Gabriel era are in here, and then there's also a bonus disc,
Yep.
Which is nice. But
I haven't looked at that in a long time, but
yeah,
my favorite DVDs from that collection are the Foxtrot and Selling England by the Pound. Because Foxtrot has an entire TV show with them performing 4 songs, and the Selling England by the Pound DVD has a complete show. Pretty much, it's about an hour-long show played at Shepperton Studios, I think, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an awesome. Even if it's only 1 hour, it's a great show, I think.
But there's a lot of cool songs on this. The most noteworthy one for me is The Knife.
Yes.
So if you're interested in Trespass, check out The Knife.
Yes, listen to that first and then listen to the rest of it. A
It's
hard song to play. I've tried to cover it before.
a hard one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the kind of the trick with Genesis, the way that they write all these songs is they just jam, get like a 1 minute snippet of something. And they can develop it a little bit if they like, but what they really do is they just kind of embroider it into other songs, other song pieces. They start with like a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle. It's all song ideas, and then they put the
Yeah.
puzzle together with the
Yeah, they'll come up with 5 or 10 songs that way or something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So the result of that is that I like most of the work that they did, but there are occasional songs that have stuff in them that I really don't like. But then paradoxically, later on in the song, they're doing something amazing. So I can't really throw the song away or not, ignore it, because there are parts that are too good. Things like robbery, assault, and battery fall into that for me. But getting ahead of ourselves here, let's go on to Nursery Crime.
Yes.
And this particular copy is signed by Steve Hackett from that event that we went
Oh,
to.
yes. Yes, my box set is signed by Steve.
Yeah, I saw that. There's actually a picture of that happening. And yeah, this also had a gatefold, but not this particular copy. But I've seen the gatefold, and it's really cool. Again, it's it's all the lyrics inside, and it's all nursery rhyme looking. It looks kind of like a children's book, almost a little like this cover does slightly, except for the fact that she's knocking heads around with a croquet mallet. But what I love is there's this reviewer, American reviewer named Robert Christgau, and he's one of the more famous rock reviewers because he started right in mid-late 67. The 60s, towards the end of the 60s. And so he was there just in time to review everything that all the great classic rock, boomer music, and the stuff that we used to love. So he never liked Genesis very much. He likes the Grateful Dead. He likes the Ramones. He likes the Talking Heads, things like that. Really great music, but more, angular, thoughtful. He thinks that progressive rock is just a waste of time. So I like to read his reviews for various albums, including Genesis. And I thought this would be a great time to start that. So for this album, there's a song called Nursery Crime. And it's all, there's a line in it about Old King Cole was a merry old soul. So here's his 3-sentence review. God's Wounds. It's a rock version of the myth of hermaphroditus. In quotes, because the organist and the mime-influenced vocalist have the drummer a little confused. Or maybe it's just the invocation to Old King Cole. C-. So, yeah, he's kind of a character. So
I guess so, yeah.
yeah, I totally disagree with him. Some of my favorite Genesis songs are on this record. Of all time, like "The Fountain of Salmacis" is one of my favorites.
One of the Giant Hogweed and "The Fountain of Salmacis" are my favorite songs off of that album.
Yeah, Giant Hogweed's pretty epic, I must say. A lot of the shorter songs are good too. Seven Stones is nice.
Harold the Barrel is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's kind of a funny song. And I think Musical Box is pretty good. It might be a little long. There are a lot of pieces they did that are great, and they're 10 minutes long. And I think, they would have done great if it were about 8 minutes, like took this little piece out, but but it actually hangs together great. And I'm not really trying to diss them. They did great work. I'm not saying I could do that. Hey there, everyone. So I'm sitting here doing the editing on the Genesis video and realizing that we're in real trouble because we recorded more than an hour's worth of material. So we have barely scratched the surface and only gotten 3 albums in after our overview. So if you'd like to see the second installment, I'm going to put that up on Monday. And then probably if there's a third one, that'll be on Thursday. Please leave a comment below. Please subscribe. Please like our video. We've got a Facebook group if you're into that. Hope to see you Monday, folks. I hope you're enjoying our content. Take care.